Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thanks so much for joining us here at this series of live talks at Dimensions Festival 2025. I'm Emma Robertson, the host and creator of Air Podcast, and today I'm joined by UK-based DJ Grace Sands.
Hi, everyone.
Grace was a co-founder of Britain's iconic DIY Soundsystem, a free party collective active in the 80s and 90s, fighting back against the commercialization of dance music. Grace continues to move dance floors today as a DJ, a producer, and as a boss of her own True Vanity Recordings. And today we're going to be taking a look back at her past, present, and vision for the future. Please welcome Grace Sands. So Grace, I want to start, I was watching a YouTube video about the infamous Castle Morton rave that you and DIY Soundsystem helped organize. And one of the comments really struck me. It said, "I was there. To be honest, I never left." And I think that's really special. Is that also how you feel about the parties that you were organizing back in the 80s?
Okay, so I guess you got to remember, obviously, it wasn't just us who organised Castle Morton Festival. Spiral Tribe famously got busted for it because they didn't stop till Wednesday. That's the Spirals for you. There is a film, by the way, I'll give it a quick plug. It's my friend's film. It's called Free Party, A Folk History. So if you go on the internet, you'll find out it's only festival showings. It's not actually out and about on, any streaming platforms at this time. That's a brilliant film, which if you want to see what the free party scene in Castle Morton itself was like. So yeah, I mean, I guess that person, the environment to have those parties doesn't exist anymore. We were laughing, we were at Houghton the other week, and Stallions in the woods at Houghton, I played there Saturday morning. That's exactly like a free party, except it's a £280 ticket to get in. So the problem now is, you can do small free parties, like 200, 300, 400, 500 people, but a big one like Castle Morton, the infrastructure was built up by, we were doing free parties every weekend. So we had our answer machine at home, Spirals did, Circus Normal, Circus Warp, all those, the network was building, and that was like the peak of it all. So when someone says, I guess they never left, it's that you can't replace what happened there.
Are you also nostalgic for those days?
Well, I guess nostalgia is a tricky thing, isn't it? Because obviously it was great, but you can't be spending all the time to say that was great. Yeah, I know it's a moot point. Some people do like just to sort of base themselves on those experiences, but I'm out and about DJ now, still having fun. And we were at Vortex earlier on, so still having pies outside under the stars, well, under the sun as it was.
Do you feel like also that kind of lives on in the music and the parties that you're going to today, like that same free spirit energy is still around?
Yes and no. I'll say yes. So like this morning, we were all outside having fun, but it was very different. It did strike me, actually. It was an after party. Vortex is an after party for, obviously, Barb's, which is Brill, Barbarella's, for those who are watching, is the outdoor club. Barbarella's is like an Ibiza club, isn't it, even from 1986. So, but they're saying it is different in that the free parties back then, you had to get in a car, you had to ring up a number. It wasn't like as organised as like the pay parties. You just rang. It was our house phone. And we used before answer machines, before we used to actually read it out to people. So there was a bit more of a journey to find something. So although dancing outside under the stars in the forest is the same, there was you had to find it, track it down. You had to be part of the network, part of the community. So it was a bit more a sense of belonging to something, I guess, and something you had to find it. It wasn't there like, oh, click on something, there it is. You had to find where you were going.
Do you think the hard work of finding it made it more special in the end?
Well, yeah, it's like everything. I think Jarvis Cocker, he talks about it quite well. But you're driving in the car, then you turn the engine off, turn the windows down, you can have distant thump, thump, thump. It's always exciting to hear that.
Can you talk a bit about the Castle Morton Common Festival, just for people who are here who might not know? What was that like? What do you remember about that week?
Not that much, obviously, but it was a brilliant weekend. I mean, it was, there's so many people's stories about it, obviously. We went to a DJ in Liverpool on the Friday. We drove overnight. So we got there like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Then we slept at some point, we got up, and then it again been from like 3,000-4,000 people to 20,000 people overnight. And the hilarious thing, the biggest advert for it was on the 6 o'clock news. So everyone was like, "Oh well, that looks like a good laugh. I'm going there."
I
So
actually was gonna talk about that in this same YouTube video. They talked about it being on the 6 o'clock news, and somebody said that their mum put them on the missing persons register because they just fucked off from their house, went to this festival for the whole week. But I really like those kind of sort of mythologies and stories surrounding parties like that. Is that like really how it felt at the time? Like something special was happening?
yeah, but once again, as I said, without being too sage about it, obviously at the time, nothing really feels like that, does it? Because you're just doing it, really. You might look back at this weekend, if you just had a brilliant weekend, you might look back, that was the best weekend of that 5 years. You don't know that at the time. I think there was a sense at Castle Morton, because it was so huge, it was easily the biggest free party there had been, and everyone kind of knew. Less so me, actually. At the time, I was just enjoying myself. A lot of people thinking this is so big, this is going to be the end of it all, and it was in a way. It's divisive because it was the one that fucked it up. So there was never any big ones like that ever again, but it was brilliant. So it depends on your view of it, really. Looking back, yeah, it was so big. The Criminal Justice Bill became the Criminal Justice Act, and you could never do that again. So, however, 20,000, 30,000, well, nobody knows, but 20, 30,000 people had a brilliant weekend. There was no trouble, self-regulating. My friend Harry, who wrote the book, Dreaming in Yellow, said, what did he say? The best description was it was like a village fete on drugs.
You just mentioned that the Castle Morton rave was really like the death knell for parties like that. Was it just because it brought sort of so much attention to what was going on, or what was the reason behind that?
Yeah, I think there'd been, yeah, month on month. Basically, that was Avon Free Festival. There used to be a photocopied sort of pamphlet with all the free festivals in. So we were doing free parties then. We went to the Avon Free Festival the year before at Chip in Sodbury. It was 2 sound systems, about 3,000 people. Load of Hell's Angels turned up and had their bit. It was like just quite a groovy little weekend. But by the next year, the party scene had got bigger and bigger and bigger. So suddenly there was 20, 30,000 people. So it had naturally grown to be that big. So just remind me of the question you asked.
I just wondered, why was it sort of the end of free parties?
So I think because it was so big and it was on the news, they couldn't actually deal with informal networks being that well organized. So they were actually scared, because what they didn't really like was the traveller community. So we had pals who were on the road in buses and stuff. We always lived in Nottingham. I'm from Manchester myself, but I'd moved there to study, and that's where DIY Soundsystem started up. They couldn't really understand how all the travellers, the ravers, the dog on the string crew, the crusties, whatever you want to call it, everyone was in one place, and they couldn't really deal with that. They didn't like the fact that 30,000 people could arrange to be somewhere without them knowing that was going to happen. So they got scared.
Just for maybe people in the audience who aren't familiar, can you talk a bit about DIY Soundsystem? What was it exactly? How did you guys start that up?
So as I mentioned, it was in Nottingham. Nottingham was a great city, like Bristol, Brighton. It's a good size, social size, very friendly, welcoming. It's what would you say, intimate. You go out and you always bump into someone you know, and it's not claustrophobically small. So it's a great city. Always been welcoming. Lots of people have been there, had a brilliant time. So we were there, and we were clubbers. Then we would go. There'd been the Marcus Garvey Centre, which is still going. There'd been some parties going on, some acid house parties. We went there, and they were just crap. So we thought, we were going there thinking these coaches from London were supposed to be turning up. Of course, they never did. The DJs came, but we went to 2 or 3 of those. We thought these are no good. So we thought, we can do it ourselves. There's the cliche with that whole punk DIY culture. So we put a rave on there the same week as LFO came out. Then it was Warp Record fans, LFO. That was the week, and we put Forge Masters, LFO, and Man Machine. And by complete fluke, it was packed. And that was our first ever party, was for like 1,000 people. So it was just a desire. We were doing house parties at home. It was just a desire to put on something for ourselves, which I will say, people often ask, what should I do to start out? Getting your mates together and doing a party is about the way to start anything off. DJ careers, producing career, promoting. So it just came from a desire to have fun, basically.
And how did that go on to evolve? Like, what were the next steps of what you were doing, or did you not really have a plan?
I guess we did that one, then we did another one with them, Collision 2, which is even bigger. So they were our two biggest raves, and then we started doing a monthly at the garage where Graham Park used to DJ. So I guess we didn't have a master plan. No, we just, our friend Simon, who bless him has passed away, Simon DK, he had decks. So he started DJing. And then the free party kind of scene just naturally developed. Some friends in Bournemouth, there was like a warehouse party scene, and that spilled out into the fields. And the first party was at, let me think now, it'll come to me. Anyway, it was, so that started at the same time. So really, we were gathering to have a party. We did the big raves, and then the free party scene just sort of started happening, really. So we were a group of people that were then more and more of us were DJing. So there was about 30 of us at the core with sound system, lights, DJs, and we got a studio a little bit later.
You mentioned earlier that when you're in the moment, you're not really thinking about like, are we doing something special? Is this gonna be something big? Is that also how it felt for you guys with DIY Sound System?
I guess, yeah, we sat at a pub and we decided, and if you watch the film is worth watching, track it down. There's a debate over who came up with the name, and we sort of sat, we need to call ourselves something. We came up with DIY. So, well, I think at that point, we kind of named ourselves, like we're a collective, we want to do something. So from then onwards, yeah, we kind of had, okay, we called ourselves a collective. This is what we're doing. So we had like a mission statement of, well, to have fun, basically.
Do you want to talk about that mission statement?
Well, we didn't actually write it down at the time.
I mentioned earlier in the intro that the free party movement was a reaction against the commercialization of dance music. Is that how it felt for you guys?
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, that we're going to the Marcus Garvey Centre. You know, the acid house parties weren't happening. There was nobody there, and then it was ecstasy was £25. £25 by then was a loss of money. It was, and not everyone had £25. When they went down to £20, like okay, £20. No, it's like £50 now. It's 50 quid for a tablet. Really, it was a lot. So the London orbital scene was happening, but that very quickly changed. There's lots of documentaries about it into gangsters thinking we can make loads of money out of this. So it was like dogs, heavy security. It quickly soured into something that was a rip-off, basically. We went down to a few, you're driving around, can't find it, or it's a massive faff to eventually get there. So the free party scene really took that spirit and put it on for free. So you had to find it. We weren't making money out of it. Obviously, we did have to spend money, but we were doing a fortnightly club, which is where the money came from. So there was, like, I guess, a vacuum created. The acid house dream came and went quite quickly. And then everyone still wanted to go outside and dance out under the stars. So the free party scene naturally filled that gap. But it wasn't like a plan. It's like, oh, the free festival, we're going to free festival, take a sound system. Oh, look, there's people getting high on ecstasy, dancing to house music. There's people over there listening to Osric Tentacles. And then eventually it all became one crew.
And when you say you didn't have to spend any money, all the DJs were playing for free.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about it. It's a bit of a cliche, but you only have to take yourself with a positive attitude. So there was one girl, she said, it's enough money for an extra tablet. So that was her take on getting in for free. But, each to their own. So, yeah, it was the idea of a free party. There is no fence, there is no security. And also, my view on it is, there's no expectations. No one's actually saying 25k turbo rig, lasers, etc., etc., etc. Someone's just saying there's a party. So when you get there, it is, you discover what it is. So there's been no promise to be broken. So I think that's part of the charm. You're going to go to a field somewhere and find something, but you don't know what it's going to be.
Am I right in thinking that there was also sort of like anti-rave or anti-party legislation that was coming up in the UK at the time as well?
Well, there's two levels. So the big orbital parties around London were pissing off people in the home counties, basically. So there was Graham Bright, an MP, had put a bill through, which was you can't put on those kind of unlicensed. There was lots of loopholes to get away with it, but they had a big team that would follow people round. So there was that crackdown. We stopped the big pay raves, although they were kind of, like I said before, they were sort of eating themselves with the sort of wrong in people running them. And they gave out 6, 7, 8 a.m. licenses in London and Birmingham. So that's kind of put a stop because you could go to a club. Then after Castle Morton, you have the Criminal Justice Bill, Criminal Justice Act, which said famously music which is characterized by a succession of repetitive beats. So that's what they thought of our music. So that was just to stop anyone taking a sound system. They could use it now. They don't really use it. They're only really worried about something like Castle Morton happening again. 300, 400, 500 people, they'll come and they'll go. So we'll come back tomorrow.
So how did that impact you guys, or did it impact you?
We basically carried on doing it. Yeah. You just had to be a bit more careful, really, about how big you did it. Like I say, you would actually come and say, there's not going to be 2,000, 20,000 people turning up tomorrow. They actually would actually say that. And so we had to just make them smaller, really.
In his book, Dreaming in Yellow, which you mentioned already, your collaborator, Harry Harrison, described DIY sound system as celebrating the ideology of liberation through fun. And I really love that. Is that how it felt for you guys? Is that sort of like the mission statement that you didn't write down?
Yeah, I mean, Harry is a wordsmith and he's good at summing these things up. Yeah, that was it. It was very inclusive. It was, queer, townies, us, the ravers, the travelling community. So it wasn't inclusive. We were a friendly bunch. We were inclusive. That idea of, we were political people. Obviously, I do actually believe you're allowed to not be political when you're getting high and having fun and let your hair down. That is part of life. So this is the idea of just gathering together. Right? It's a political statement by saying we're going to have this party. You go to France on the continent, people do it anyway. It's a British thing to kind of tell people off for having parties in the woods. Whereas you go to France, you ask the mayor and they'll say, yes, you can do it. So just by being there was a political act.
Did it feel political in other ways, in the sense that you were talking about coming together, inclusivity? Was that also sort of a political feeling for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing is we were already like an alternative community. We would be celebrating Pride, the miners' strike. We already were lefties anyway. So that whole inclusive politics is kind of what it was like in the 80s. That we were just like that anyway.
And what about today? Do you feel like that sense of like anarchy is still sort of tied up in dance music now?
There's still kids doing free parties and there's still a squat scene in London, but I think less so. Unfortunately, it's changed quite a lot. You can't do the kind of things that happened in the 80s anymore, really. You can do a small party in the woods, 300, 400, 500 people. You're not going to get 20,000 people somewhere. So the true anarchic, you wouldn't be able to do it now, really, or you would end up in jail or in court. And I can't see it happening. So I think it has changed quite a lot.
What about in a sense of like gathering people together? Is that also a political statement?
If you're gathering people together, you're being inclusive. People don't need money to get there. They need a car to get there. So you're already creating something where everyone can go and get along with each other. So yes, I think so, yeah.
Was dance music something that you were always into? Like, was it always an important part of your life? I know that before you started DJing, you were a dancer, a club kid, first and foremost. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, like all of us, we all discovered going out at some point. So I grew up in Manchester, so I went to a club called the Man Alive with my friend Nick, and then we discovered the Hacienda. So I'm lucky. It was a great club on my doorstep. So since then, I haven't looked back. So first and foremost, we were out last night. I like it. We still go out, me and my partner, my pals. I still go out when I'm not DJing. I don't only go out when I'm DJing. So it's part of me, always has been. So I was a dancer first. I wasn't like a professional dancer. Everyone says, "Well, you're dancers." I was like going out and cutting a rug. So yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the Hacienda in those days? What was that like for you?
Well, it was a brilliant club. It was an old yacht warehouse. The best thing about it was going in, they had those things that hang down the polythene strips. So you queued up outside. It was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And you go and it's like, whoa. It was a great feeling, which I've never forgotten. So yeah, and Graham Park was playing there. The music was brilliant. That's when it turned me on to, that was 86. So Trax records are coming out. Adonis came out that year. So that was my introduction to house music.
And where else were you going at the time? Like, was there quite a burgeoning scene in Manchester?
At that time, really, it was just a hacienda. Like I say, Man Alive, then Conspiracy, and other clubs came 2, 3 years later. I mean, that summer, I moved to Nottingham, where Graham Park was playing at the garage. So I chose well by accident. There's only really three places in England at the time where there were house clubs: Manchester, Nottingham, and London. So I went to Notts in '86. So I went back to Manchester, obviously, but then I was in Nottingham from '86 onwards. So more like in going out clubbing there.
Any memories that you want to share with us?
I was a bit too late to dredge those up right now.
So how did you make the how did you make the journey from being a club kid to being a DJ? How did that happen? Was it just sort of a natural progression from like going out, seeing a DJ that you liked and wanting to sort of be part of that world?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like I said, Simon DK got some decks, so I learned to mix on his techniques. It's a natural thing, and people do it now. People say, "Oh, everyone could be a DJ now, la di da di da." But anyone who is a DJ, I'm sure there's some people here that are. You decided to be a DJ. I decided to be a DJ. Why was I right and some new person is wrong? Everyone wants to be a DJ in a way. Well, if you like going out dancing, you might cross your mind, oh, I could do that and put that next to that next to that. So it's easier now, obviously. It's a bit cheaper with downloads, and you can press sync or not press sync, or you can look at the BPM. It doesn't matter whether you press sync or not, it's still easy. So back then it was a bit harder. You had to have the money for decks and records. Well, we were £6 for a record, so we're not as expensive as they are now. So hip hop really was my first love to collect music. Then I started to buy house. Then me and Pete, Digs and Woosh, started working together. But weren't really playing house at first. We were playing like hip hop, reggae, dub. Pete was a big jazz head. So we started playing like eclectic music.
When was it that you found sort of your voice as a DJ? You just mentioned kind of like digging for a little bit of everything. When did you kind of find out what you wanted your sound to be?
So Pete and I, we sort of just through Harry, who I mentioned wrote the book. Pete moved down from Bolton, so our collections just kind of seemed to fit together. We were both massive stoners, so we'd just be sit up late, play music, vibing off each other. So that we were always diverse. So we played like ambient shows, serve chilled, we called it, on Rave FM on a Sunday. So when everyone was like wired, basically, we did ambient shows with lots of found sounds. Excuse me. So we did that. Then we played hip hop, funk, all that kind of thing. Now we didn't really start playing house till about 91, 92. And then the deep house, US influenced sound that I still play now. We found that as a collective, really. And there was a really good record shop, Arcade Records, where Jonathan Woodcliffe, who's a famous Northern Soul DJ, he was part of it because he had great records in the shop. So we decided, we tried to work it out. The clubs in America back then were like juice bars, so they used to go all night. So they used to go till like midnight till midday. But then the free parties went basically round about midnight till dusk. So that's why we could play that sound. It wasn't like a 4-hour club set where everyone screams and does whatever, then it finishes at 2. We had the time. So I think that's why we discovered that deep house groove, really, because we had the time at the parties to make that happen.
Do you miss that today, like playing a hour and a half long festival set?
Yeah, I mean, obviously places like Panorama Bar, you get 4 hours. So this kind of gone back now. The Panorama's always 4. Quite often people will say 2 or 3 hours. So yeah, the people kind of worked out that it is better to let you play longer.
In a recent interview, you talked about how becoming a DJ wasn't really like a thing. Like you weren't thinking about it like a career path. So how did you approach that? Like, were you just sort of doing this for fun, for your own friends? It started that way and kind of grew organically?
Yeah, well, we were doing house parties, just playing cassettes, blowing up various sound systems. Then we got the decks. So, yeah, again, I think it's been well documented. People see like the private jet life. There are people out there who want to be famous. They're not really that asked about being a DJ, but they want the lifestyle. There are those people. But I think they're in the minority. But back in the 80s, DJs, club DJs, wasn't really a big thing. It was becoming something to do. Whereas now, obviously, things are marketed. CDJs, everything is a thing, isn't it? To be a DJ now is a thing. Oh, look, I want to be that. Whereas back then, it wasn't discussed like that. Everyone's a pretty much a DJ in London that I know now, and fair play to them. If you're into it, fine. If you're just doing it to pose, maybe not so much. But it's, yeah, back then it wasn't, you wouldn't say, hey, there was only be 1 or 2 or 3 in a town.
Do you miss that?
Like I say, like in the queer scene, a really healthy queer scene in East London where I live, and we both, me and my partner, go out, everyone's doing it now. And then they go, girl needs a gig. You only played fucking once, love. Everyone's at it. Or you haven't got a job either, so I'm going to be a DJ. So it's quite sweet, really. Like, girl needs a gig. I'm sure she does. So do I. Thanks. Yeah. Join the queue, bitch. But, you know, I'm being silly. But, you know, it is that thing. But it's good. It's funny. It's funny. I think, you know, like I say, why should I say they should not be a DJ? Someone could have told me back in 1988 I shouldn't be a DJ, and I'd have told them to fuck off. So,
Should we listen to some music?
sure. Okay, so this is a track by Digs and Woosh. Me and Pete, we DJed together for many years. Pete has passed away, bless him. We'll talk about that a little bit more a bit later on. So this, I was rooting around. So this was our like hits. This samples Undisputed Truth track called Showtime, which is produced by Norman Whitfield. It was bootlegged in France, so that's how famous it was. This was the record. It's not really a deep house track. I don't have another one. I'm going to play this one because it's the one that really made us as DJs. So 1 second, is it? I should know what I'm doing here, shouldn't I? I'm not sure which one it is, so give me a second. Hello? Oh, that's, yeah, where I was off. So that was Digs and Woosh Rum Funk on DIY Discs. Any collectors, the 2 labels we ran were strictly for groovers in DIY Discs. They are on Discogs. We're tussling whether to do the digitizing of it at the minute or not, because we haven't got the DATs, really, on most of them. And loads of people, we don't really know where they are anymore. So watch this space for digital stuff. We are going to do something.
So tell us about this track. What do you remember about making it?
So we used to go, so we went to America a lot. A guy, Steve, took me and Pete, Digs and Woosh. We had to choose between Ibiza or San Francisco in 1991. So we chose San Francisco. I went to Ibiza in 92. So we discovered the thrift shops in California was 25 cents for loads and loads of brilliant records. So it was loads cheaper. The thrift stores, you know, like you had Oxfam in England, but thrift stores weren't the same. So we just used to go mad buying loads and loads and loads of records. So that one was, like I said, the Undisputed Truth. So we used to go sample hunting when we were on our trips to America. We had some friends came from Dallas. They came to a free party. Then they did ranch parties. So we used to go there for 2 weeks every summer to Dallas. Dallas had a great scene. You wouldn't have thought so. It's a really good scene. There's a club called the Stark Club, which was designed by Philip Stark, owned by Grace Jones and Stevie Nicks, and you could buy ecstasy on your credit card. How about that? 3 Jack and Cokes and 4 New Yorkers, please. So yeah, we used to go there. So we used to go to America a lot. So basically that comes from one of our sort of trips, thrifting and digging. That was the sample. It's basically one sample, really, the vocal, yeah.
So you mentioned already that Pete passed away several years ago. How is it for you listening back to that now? Is it difficult, or are you able to just remember it for what it was at the time?
Yeah, well, Peter's 5 years on October the 2nd since Peter's passed. Obviously, when people go, they're gone, and it's very final as you get a bit older, as I am now, then this starts happening. You know, we traveled the world together for many years. We were friends first and foremost. And I always used to find Pete pissed out of his brain with his pants around his ankles in the toilet. Oh, there he is. But, you know, we had brilliant sounds as friends first, and as a duo, obviously you work hard, you travel a lot, and relationships, you know, can get a bit strained, but we were friends throughout it. So I think now it's coming up to 5 years. It's been enough time for me to remember the good times, and I've kind of processed the fact that he's gone. He was stoical about his illness. It's very complicated losing someone. We spent a lot of time together. So the one thing that gets to me, without being too silly about it, is that there's only one person I can talk to certain experiences around. It was Pete, and he's not here anymore. So that's kind of what I miss. Some like honor artists in some club in Paris with a grandma Coke for company, trying to keep spirits up when none of our French mates came out. You know, it was only me and Pete can talk about those nights. So that's why I miss.
Do you feel like it's also impacting you in a creative sense? Like, is it hard to be an artist without him, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I say, we did work together really well. Creative partnerships are good and bad. You do fall out over things and all the rest of it. So, but that's kind of part of any relationship, isn't it? You have the good and bad sides. I work mainly on my own now. I have got some new collabs. I mean, I'm feeling my creative juices are flowing. Yeah, but it is good. I do miss having the sounding board, yeah, and discussing it with someone and say, should we do this? Should we do that? And also, like now, back then, there were no socials. With the social media stuff and all that, it's very, very time consuming and a bit of a pain in the arse, really. So there's 2 of you, that kind of thing as well. So it's the broader responsibilities. It's nice to have someone else to do it with.
You are also working on a mixtape called Taste the Grains, which is dedicated to Pete's memory. Can you talk a bit about that? We're going to play it later, just so you guys.
Yeah, sure. I've got one here. Yeah, but there's still, well, it's 5 years since he passed, coming up in October the 2nd. This was a lockdown project, actually. It's funny, all these lockdown projects gradually come out, don't they? Oh, I did this in lockdown. We try not to talk about lockdown, do we now? Because it's behind us, thank God. So I'd always wanted to do something that was like, we started playing, like I say, what you'd call room 2, you know, hip hop, funk, disco, reggae, jazz. So this kind of reflects that, and it's something, it's not house, it's not hip hop, it's somewhere in between the two. So I'd always wanted to do that. Then lockdown obviously gave me the time to do it. So I started doing it then. It's a bit kraut rocky, some of it. I'm not going to play those ones. Like I say, I've got to get it finished. But I've said October the 2nd. I've got lots of tracks. Any project is going on. So it's just an idea. I'm trying to do something. It's kind of wild, kind of wigged out. It's to dance to, but it's not house. It's not hip hop. It's not slow, not fast. It's that in that middle bit.
How was it putting together something in memory of him? Like, I can imagine that on the one hand, it's like sort of an outlet for grief, but also a nice sort of celebration of his life.
Yeah, that's what I want it to be. I mean, it reflects the stuff that we made together. Also reflects the stuff that I want to make now. Because there's been lots of tributes to Pete, remembering Pete. So this is my one, really. So it's got to, when I finally do it, I think that'll be my way of saying. And there's a little hidden bit in it. Anyway, I'm not going to give all the games away. Okay, there's a hidden bit in it. Yeah, watch this space. Yeah, answer the postcard, please.
So what about for you? How is it for you to look back on those days with Pete when you were identifying as Rick Diggs rather than who you are now, Grace Sands? Are you still able to look back on those days fondly, or is it difficult for you?
It's been talking about it is like I say, what language you use. Look, I wasn't like an unhappy person. I kind of knew this person was coming always. I knew somewhere in the distance, and this me was going to arrive. And it wasn't something I woke up every day and thought, I'm not happy because I'm not that person. And I have discussed this before. You know, we were very, very busy. And it might seem a funny thing to say, but if you're DJing 3, 4, 5 times a week, personal development does go slightly on the back burner. So you kind of get spat out the end of that and you're thinking, right, hold on a minute, there's these things I need to address. And then I kind of addressed it. I ended up leaving Nottingham really as a result of it, which was a shame because Nottingham, although it's a friendly city, if you're the protagonist, it's quite a gossipy city. And it wasn't negative, it just gets a bit wearing. So I left in the end because I just got bored of people asking me like this, that, the other. But I'm still friends with everyone. I've gone back and relationships are fine. But at the time I was like, this is getting a bit much here. So I went to London and London, yeah, whatever. You can be trans anywhere. It's handy being it where I am because it's quite queer where I live. And what I like where I live, the people at the shop know me. Well, they always flirt with me, don't they? And he got these 2 massive dildos out. Hey, baby. So I'll take that as an affirmation, okay? So, you know, as a guy, and then obviously when I finally did transition during lockdown, funnily enough, I kind of thought it was about the time I was going to do it. And then I thought, well, some shops are only going every now and then. They might have kind of half forgotten who I was before. So then they go, I think she looks familiar. Can't quite remember. So it was kind of good and bad because we all had a funny time coming out of lockdown, was it? And then I was kind of being this me every day, which is quite draining when you first do it. So it was good and bad, really. But no, everyone knows me where I am, and there's a big, nice queer community. But I'll go back to my mum. My mum's cool. So, you know, it's not like I'm thinking, oh my God, it took too long to do it. It worked out for me. The timing for me was right.
I know that you mentioned sort of that it was a long time coming, and I guess that must have taken a lot of patience for you, if that makes sense, like to know when it was the right moment.
Well, I think the tricky thing, I mean, anyone who is, you know, contemplating their identity, you do need to take your time. And it is frustrating. That's the thing. Once you've made your mind up, we kind of want to do it straight away. And I was teaching for a little while. London is an expensive city. And the kids at the college, they were going, well, I can't do a Turkish accent, but the Turkish girls, they would just say, what happened to you over summer? You're so grumpy now. Because obviously I decided who I wanted to be, but I could have probably just done it. I hadn't met my partner at that point, but everyone else has to get used to it. Your mates, you know, you have to go, you're right, this, that, the other, this, that. That's what takes the time. You can't just turn on a sixpence. I mean, you can, but you can't really because no one else can actually just adjust like that. So that was the frustrating bit. It takes having to wait. That was about 5 years really from when I decided to actually being this me most of the time, and then you're 2 me's, 2 wardrobes, and then eventually you're 1 me, and then you have to go to the Tesco, and then they go, oh, hello, and then you still have to say that, hi, it's me. Well, you don't say that because it's just the people in Tesco, you don't really know them. You say hello. So, you know, well, that's the tricky one. That's the tricky bit. The guy in Tesco, it took me ages to say hello to again.
Do you feel like you're glad that you waited until it was the right moment?
Yeah, for me, I think, yeah, I can only talk about myself here. Yeah, for me, the timing was right. I was teaching, like I say, at the time, so I had the money to buy outfits and stuff, so I had the disposable income. I didn't have to worry about buying clothes and stuff. So I wouldn't have to scrabble around or go to secondhand places, which is obviously fine. Yeah, like, I've had a brilliant life anyway. I'm not saying mine's the best life anyone's ever had, but I'm not any regrets about how it happened.
I know that playing at places like NYC Down Low and Adonis have been really formative for you in becoming Grace. So, can you talk a little bit about that? What's special about those dance floors that kind of helped you in your transition?
Well, I mean, the great thing about the queer community is everyone knows exactly who I am. There's no questions. You know, I am Grace. It's not like, oh, you're not the best Grace you could be, or this, that, the other. You know, you are. It's very simple. People know who I am, and I am Grace to them. So that's easy. In the world isn't queer. So you go down, we travel a lot, and obviously you get misgendered in security, and then the girl at the makeup store always calls you darling. So it's you win some, lose some. So, well, it might not be the queer lad or, you know, not just the girl at the makeup store, but, you know, it's unfortunate. I travel a lot and it can be quite draining, but the good thing about the queer community and those queer dance floors, I am me, and there's no questions about it. So, it's kind of like the DIY free party inclusive dance floor. It's the same thing, but the queer version of it. It's like all welcome. Here we are. So there's a lot said about the power of the dance floor. As we're here. The beach was great yesterday. We're all there having a great time, and you're meeting different people. You've got the bond, isn't it, with that person who stood next to you, is that we're rocking to the same tune. So you don't really need to know much else about that person. That's the thing about it, I think.
Do you feel like you've sort of found your peace?
I am peaceful now, yeah. Yeah. Well put.
Should we listen to some more music?
Okay, so what was next on the list? We said, I was talking about Adonis, so I played the one, it's two of the girls, the queens from Adonis. Shall I play that one?
Sure.
Give me 1 sec, 1 minute. So this might come out on my record label, True Vanity, or might come out on Adonis pressings. And it's two of the drags from Adonis, which has got two dark rooms. It's got the girl, or the femme dark room, and the mask dark room. Then this is what the track is about.
Confessions from the dark room. I was lying in the dark room. What happens in the dark room stays in the dark room. Got it? The dark room.
Where's the dark room? In the dark room, everyone looks the same. In the dark room, no one knows your name. Jane's in the dark room. Shannon's in the dark room. Princess Julia's in the dark room. Shane Malt's in the dark room.
Jeff is in the dark room. Grace is in the dark room. Then Grace is in the dark room. The rules are different in the dark room. Anything goes.
There are no rules in the dark room.
Anything goes.
Every room's a dark room. Confessions of the Dark Room, Part 1.
Confessions of the dark room. Part 2.
Confessions of the Dark Room, Part 3. J.R. is in the dark room. Gideon, where are you? In the dark room. Where's Lily? In the dark room. Where's Shanana? In the dark room. Where's Grace? In the dark room. Grace. In the dark room. Where's Shay? In the dark room.
Okay, so that's Who's Queen is coming out soon. Thank you.
Do you want to talk about that?
Okay, so there's many versions of that as they're off on now. There's a slightly ruder one. I can't find the rude one. It's basically talking about being in the dark room at Adonis. And any room can be a dark room, one of them famously says. They pissed me off, actually, because I got them to perform it at Glastonbury. But I was away in America then. They didn't rehearse it, and I couldn't be asked to bring them up every other day when I was in America to kick them up the arse. So watch this space. It's good. Two of the drags, Shannon and Emil. We just got them to keep talking. Then if Shannon's the quiet one, then she was the rude one when she got going. So yeah, keep an eye out for it. It's going to be coming out in January probably.
So in the past, you said that as you've become more queer, so has the music that you play. I really love that. And I'm wondering if you can elaborate on that. Tell me about sort of exploring your own sexuality and identity through the music that you release and the music that you play.
Well, I guess that's the case in point. Thing is, if I go in the dark room at Adonis, someone goes, "Hi, Grace, hi, Grace, hi, Grace." It's not discreet at all. So I'd go into a dark room somewhere else, not at Adonis. So, I mean, I think, like those of you heard, there was a boat party yesterday, and then I played on the beach. I mean, I played pretty much the same music. Obviously, Deep House is rooted in Black and Latino queer culture anyway. You got Sweet Pussy Pauline. There's a new edit of that I play. And like, whose dick is this? Botty Rider. All these, Pete used to love that one, Botty Rider. It's quite funny. So these, what I play has always been queer. I guess now I include more ballroom kind of stuff, and I kind of need to dig out. I do edits now because you play them quite a lot. Then people obviously hear them a lot. So some RuPaul ones, the ballroom classics walk for me. So I've kind of broadened my appeal. I mean, the good thing about Adonis, if anyone ever is in London, is that the Cause in Silvertown, it's all welcome. It's not exclusively queer. Obviously, you need to carry yourself appropriately around queer people. So, that's where I get to play all these tracks. So the thing with Adonis, obviously classically gay bar music, is commercial stuff, R&B. So Adonis is not that, but it's still queer. I mean, the soundtrack to queer hedonism really is techno. But I don't play techno, but I know how to pass the techno and to take over from techno. But I don't play it myself. So I guess I broadened my horizons musically, but the core is still the same.
Talk to us a bit about Adonis. You're a resident there. What is that party like? What's special about that for you?
I've been part of it from, I think I missed the very first one. And obviously I've grown, and my DJing career has been helped a lot by being part of Adonis. Everyone in the world knows about Adonis pretty much on the club scene. So it's opened a lot of doors for me personally. It's a great community. We at NYC Download, I'm sure people have been to Glastonbury and been to the Naughty Corner. That's the queer club there. It's always the week. Glastonbury's one week, then it's Adonis the next week. So everyone's hanging out of their arse, drags themselves to Adonis, like feeling like shit. And we all sort of drag ourselves there. And that's when you can't notice the community. You know what I mean? We're all just about got ourselves back in the room, and it's Adonis. So off we go again. But, that's that kind of thing. We all want to share experiences with people. So it's the Adonis community that I like most of all.
Again, in a recent interview, you talked about how one of the keys to a good night is sort of just feeling accepted, as someone who's, of course, othered. It's nice to just go to a party where you feel like you're at home, you're accepted by your sort of community. Can you talk a bit about that? Is that sort of feeling represented in places like The Cause, Adonis, and Panorama Bar, for example?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Adonis. Obviously, like we were saying, I know everyone there. We all the DJs and the people at the door. I know them all. So yeah, it's this idea of that I'm Grace there. That's who I am. Excuse me, I'm not anyone else. So yeah, very much so. Panorama Bar, it's a funny one, Panorama Bar now, isn't it? Because they do gatekeep it. And the idea of that big queue is to not let people in who can't deal with a queer club. But it's actually, I do play there, shouldn't slag it off. But I'm not slagging it off. But there's straight couples who just know how to look right and they go in. So it's not actually about gatekeeping of the queer community. It's now gatekeeping Panorama Bar's reputation. So I find it slightly odd that only a certain type of person is allowed in. It's based on how they look, really, and that isn't indicative of how they carry themselves in there. You can be a twat in a fucking, pair of black combats or not, can't you, at the end of the day?
So where and when do you feel most accepted for who you are?
I'm going to Tesco to talk to my new best friend. It's hard to say, isn't it? I mean, here's lots of places now. I would say I'm lucky because if you turn up a DJ, people have got some rough idea of who you are, or they might have seen a picture or something. Lots of places, actually. Adonis, definitely. I went to America on my Pride Princess tour. There's a really good queer collective in Buffalo, New York State. We've been to, let me think, Cyprus. I go to a lot of queer places. I don't just play queer clubs. So it depends. Most places that I go, the reason I'm there is the reason why I'm accepted there. DJ-wise, anyway.
And what about your own party, Sands of Time? How does it feel to have sort of carved out this space for yourself in the UK and have that kind of accepted feeling that you've sort of...
Yeah, I mean, that's so Sands of Time, anyone who's based in the UK or in London, it was at the Lion and Lamb, then it was at NT's Loft. It's currently homeless. It's a Thursday, which is good and bad, because of my friend, the good doctor. He's a super hot doctor, and his boyfriend, who was Mr. Gay UK 98. They're a hot couple, but he says he can never come because it's a Thursday. It's a Thursday night in London. So that one is good. It's IDJ, plus I tried to platform people, so I had up-and-coming DJs to do the warm-up, then a one guest, then me. So it's me. I'm in charge of it all, which is actually quite time consuming. So I'm partnering with various people. It's good. It's a pain in the arse, actually, to be honest, but it's worth it on the night.
Does it have that same sort of energy and spirit that you were talking about earlier with the free party movement? Is that something you're sort of trying to cultivate with your own event?
Okay, yeah, good question. I mean, I think it's got, people know me, not every queer person likes deep house at the end of the day, but there's lots of them that do, and they come down and they love it. So that's nice. So I've created my own community there, and they come for me, basically. I have to say hello to lots of people, which might sound like a bit of a weird thing to say, but I have to shake about 50 hands, like the Carl Cox of East London, or the people who look at me on that video. That's what you're talking about now. But no, I'd have to say hello to a lot of people. But no, it's nice. People come. I have created this thing. It's all the people in London that see me DJ come to Sounds of Time. So it's good. Yeah, I've created my own little small community there, yeah.
What are your plans for the future with Sands of Time?
We just need to find a new place, because we did a fundraiser at Dawson Superstore, but not that many people went, because kind of Sounds of Time is not at the obvious places. That's what it is. It's somewhere else. So we need to find the right somewhere else for it. And then obviously we can take it to festivals and all this. It's all, yeah, it's something that can be taken elsewhere. That's the idea with it. But you need a team and all that. So I haven't got the team at this time.
You've also been able to channel your energy into a label, True Vanity Recordings. Do you want to talk a bit about that? I know it's not so active right now.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the track, that one might go out on Adonis. So I've got a record. Again, a lot of these things, I'm sure there's people here, they've got record labels and DJ and produce themselves. All these things take time to organize. So that hasn't happened yet. I am trying to write quite a lot of music, but you get tired after the weekend. So, and obviously pressing up vinyl is very expensive. So I don't know. I need to kind of work it out. I've got the tracks ready, but it's whether I've got the time, because then everyone's going to send me loads of stuff to put out, and then it's a whole other job. So I'm not too sure. It's kind of, at the minute, I'm making music for other people to put out. So we'll see.
Should we play one last tune?
Yeah, sure. So this, I've got to find, this is one off the mixtape now. Let me just, so the idea of the mixtape. So I don't know which one to play. I'm going to play this one. Okay, so the mixtape is not house, it's not R&B, not hip hop. I'm just going to play it. Okay. Thank you. That's just one. It's going to be an hour long. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. There is a book coming out, which I can't remember what it's called now. Look on my Instagram. It'll be on there. And it's dedicated to my old pal and rhythm brother, Pete Woosh. Rest in peace, bro.
Do you feel like as you're getting older, you're sort of leaning into production a bit more, like sort of on a different side of creativity than just DJ?
Like my job is DJ, and I enjoy it. It's a good job. So, but obviously Monday I don't really do anything. Tuesday socials, Wednesdays something else. I only really have Thursdays to go in the studio, so it's quite tricky. I would like to go in the studio a lot, but it's making time for it is quite complicated. So I would love to go in the studio Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday every week, but there's everything else to do, so I'm not doing that. So, but then you could argue if I did go in the studio more, then would be traveling as much. I'd be a bit less tired. So I don't know. I'm trying to work out that balance at the minute.
Are you feeling like DJing is still your priority right now?
Yeah, well, it's how I pay my bills, number one. Yeah, but I'm enjoying, growth as a DJ. So I'm lucky in that I've had like a renaissance, partly because of Adonis, partly because I had the cojones to be my true self, has opened doors. So, I would be silly to not just ride that journey, really. So yeah, it is a bit tiring. I'm trying to work that out. It's getting balance, isn't it? It's getting balance, really. So just do something that's nothing to do with DJing sometimes.
It seems like you're maybe more creative than ever at the moment.
Yeah, I've got the time to be creative. Or I'll say I haven't got enough time, but yeah, I mean, my focus is music and I write music. And the great thing now, I've wake up in the middle of the night with a tune in my head. I can turn the computer on and get it down in an hour and a half. Then I can go back to bed then. Otherwise I won't sleep. So it's easier to get ideas down now. So, and I've got the time to do it. Yeah, I mean, I have a creative job, so I'm lucky to have that, and I appreciate that.
What else is changing for you as you've gotten older? Do you feel like maybe now you're sort of less bound by anything? You feel like a bit more free to do whatever you want, whatever you feel like you want to do at the time?
In what do you mean? In like,
Creatively, artistically.
um, I don't think it's changed actually. Back, I mean, we had in the 90s, we had the DIY office in the studio, so we'd go every day and we'd go to the office and sort things out. We had lots of club nights with the free fighters and 2 record labels. So I've always been doing that. And probably back then, in a way, because there's a few of us doing it, more was getting done. So now it's mainly me. I've got a couple of collabs that I do, which is a good time to turn the phone off. That's the main thing, isn't it? When you ever not look at your phone, mainly when you're working with somebody or on something. So I think it's easier now to be creative in lots of different ways. I want to do some audiovisual stuff. I want to make the mixtape an audiovisual thing, but I can't do all that on my own. So I need to find someone to do that with. Yeah, no, I've got the time to be creative. Yeah.
And what is your hope for how your creativity evolves in the future?
Like I said, I would like to get in the studio. I want to do something genuinely audiovisual. Actually, that's actually what I want to do. So, like, you play it on those, those video decks they used to be. They're only 300 quid a pair now. I might get some of those. So I'd like to do something like that. Something that's new.
Thank you so much, and thanks, guys, for coming.
Thanks for coming, everyone. I appreciate it. We got our asses here. You did too. Thank you.